Hi, I'm Deborah Fowler, and I'm going to go over a quick start to Karma. So start with some geometry. And I'm going to use a LopNet. Dive inside and SOP import my sphere. And I'm going to create a material library. So in here, what I want to do is dive inside and create a Karma shader or a MaterialX. So here you see it's MaterialX. I'm going to change this color so that it's more obvious. And then I'm going to go back up to my LopNet, autofill, and then assign to geometry. And my geometry path in this case is going to be SOP import 1. And there you see Karma CPU, Karma XPU, and Vulkan Preview. Okay, now Karma CPU works with the principled shader as well. It does not work with necessarily guaranteed to work with XPU. So we'll continue with MaterialX. Now another way I could have done this, instead of assigning to geometry here, I could also use a assign material node, in which case it's very similar. Now in here, my material path is going to be a little different than here because this is a material prefix, so we want materials Karma material. So in here, materials, and then Karma material. And in here, we'll just use SOP import 1. Okay, so again, we can see that it's working for all three, and we're good to go. Now, one note, if you're not familiar with the syntax here, you can always bring up, I've already done this, but in your scene graph in here, you can just drag and drop. So if I wanted to do this, I could open up my materials folder and grab my Karma material here, and my SOP import I can grab over here, or I could grab my entire mesh over here, like that. Okay, so those are various ways of doing assignments, filling in those blanks. When you're in Solaris context, you will have your scene graph right in the setup, so right down here. Okay. So I like working in the SOP context, so I tend to have LOP networks instead. It's fine to work in either. Another way is to use the material linker. So if I do material linker, what's great about this is it gives us some free presets. So if you go to my catalog, you can go to the default material, which it'll usually come up with. And in here, you can select a material. And then if you wanted to assign it to your geometry, you go to your rules, select that material, select that geometry, and assign it. The other cool thing about it, it has another catalog, which is the AMD MaterialX library, which if you choose somewhere on the desktop, I'm just going to choose that location. What it'll do is it'll open up this particular set of materials, which are also online here, and it'll open that up for you as well. And you can select, let's say, light marble. And now that's downloading into your file system. You can see now I have a material called Simple Marble Light Blue, and that's where those materials, those textures will be referenced from. So in general, you want to select where you're going to put those. And in rules, what we'll do is grab that. And now I'm going to assign this, and that will take precedence over the previous. Okay, so very, very easy to use. Now there's one other way, which is not my preferred method, but I'll show you that as well, which is the quick material. And they added this for convenience so you don't have to dive into a material library with some of the controls on top. So it's limited in its functionality, but it can be very handy and quick. So this does nothing. I have to assign it. So it gives me control of the materials that are installed in your USD repository in your Houdini install. I'm just going to grab this for convenience. So I'm going to assign my material. Now I don't want materials Karma. What I want is quick. The quick material, I'm going to go over to my scene graph tree. in here and just drag and drop this over here, and then go back to my scene view, and you can see that it's now using that quick material. So if I change the color, for example, to whatever I might like, it's very fast. Okay, so that's a convenient way of having it at a top level. I could have done that in here as well, but in this case, what I'd have to do is change this back to Karma material to reference that particular shader. And in here, I'd now have to dive inside and change this to whatever it might be. So it gives you a little bit of different functionality, if you will. Okay. A quick note about color variation in MaterialX. In here, I have a sphere. I've used a copy transform node and packed it. And I've assigned a color to this using bounding box just for something to show. In here, in my LOP network, it comes in and it looks like it has some kind of color on it. In fact, Vulkan Previewer shows there is really no color attribute. However, if I go into a quick surface and I assign, say, red, and I do a material assignment, remember that the quick surface material does not actually assign the material. I have to do an assign material. In here, I've assigned that SOP material to the quick surface, and you can see that that red color is being varied based on the current color that it has. If I go back over to here and just bring in the values without a color multiplier, you can see that it's red as you'd expect. I could also have done a expression and created a random color. So base color equals rand element, but then I have to say wildcard on the objects. Okay, so it's quite easy to assign random materials. Be a little careful about where you're assigning it. I would recommend if you're doing materials in LOP, do material assignments there as well as color assignments. It'll be more consistent. Let me show you. Okay, so let's go over to material library. You can see that I have the material library. You might expect maybe could do something different if I did this and I actually had this coming in with color. But in fact, it does not. So in here, it will just be blue. So let's, instead of assigning it here, let's use the material assignment. And I'm just going to turn this to none. You can see it's still blue, even though over here, all I had to do is change this to wildcard. Over here, we've got the wildcard, but there's no color associated with it. So in here, what I'd have to do is if I wanted to do color variation, I'd do expression, and I would do, again, consistent with these. I'm doing just a color variant on that. And let's go ahead and grab the sphere and turn off that color and make sure that that is consistent with both of them. Okay, so you can see that all we have to do is add our color variation in a very simple expression. I do have the default value of the assigned material. If I do this, you can see that it no longer binds that color to that parameter. So very simple color variation with a very quick vex expression. All right. Just a quick note, Karma CPU also works with Principled Shader. I set up another sphere here, which has the same setup, but with a random color and a principled material, which I created by just dragging and dropping to here, which puts it into your material context. Now, in Karma, you can do a scene import all, and you will see that you're getting the variation. You can also do a SOP import and import the material separately. I've excluded the sphere that was being used with X material, and then you can assign the material there. Same result, as you can see. Or you can import your sphere and assign the material from the material library, which I just copied and pasted from the mat context. That also works. So those three results from this particular sphere are being correctly reproduced with all three of these methods. Okay, thank you for watching.